I was just moving my wife's car to take out the garbage. That's all. But when I opened the glove compartment, there it was. A single, wrapped piece of latex for $4 that would become the match that would ignite my entire marriage. So this just happened a couple months ago, and honestly, I still don't know if I'm more pissed, sad, or just relieved. Buckle up. This one's a ride. Me, 34M, and my wife Sarah, 32F, have been married for 6 years, together for almost 8. I thought we had a solid thing going, nothing flashy, just real. She's smart, outgoing, beautiful in that effortless kind of way, and she always had this fierce independence I respected. We bought a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, 2 dogs, no kids yet. We were trying, or so I thought. But lately, things started feeling off. You know what I mean. It wasn't dramatic at first, just small things. Less eye contact. Her phone was suddenly glued to her hand, and she was smiling at it more than usual. At first, I chalked it up to stress or hormones or just the usual ups and downs. I mean, I'm not paranoid. I trusted her. But over time, the late nights started stacking up. She said work was just nuts and the marketing campaign needed all hands on deck. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Anyway, last Friday night, she said she had a team dinner across town. She dressed up more than usual, tight black dress, high heels she hadn't worn in ages, lipstick that I hadn't seen since our anniversary. I told her she looked amazing, and she gave me this weak smile. Don't wait up, she said. That hit wrong in my gut, but I let it slide. Here's where the trap gets sprung. Saturday morning, I had to move her car to make room for the garbage bins. As I got in, I noticed the glove compartment was slightly open. Now, I don't usually snoop, but something told me to look. Inside, wedged between old registration papers and some random receipts, was a single wrapped protection. One. Just one. Let me be clear, we don't use protections. Haven't in years. She's on birth control, and we're married. I just sat there, staring at it like it was glowing. My heart didn't even race. It just sank. That's when things started clicking into place. The new lingerie I found in the laundry that she never wore for me. The suddenly perfect nails, every week. The random gym sessions that didn't show up on her health app. All the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. I took the protection and placed it in a small black velvet box I had from an old gift. I added a sticky note. "Who's this for?" and left it on her pillow. Then I went out for a long walk. I needed to clear my head. When I came back, she was home, face pale, box open, standing in the hallway like a deer in headlights. "What is this?" she asked, trying to sound angry. Angry, like I had invaded her privacy. "You tell me," I said. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "It's for us." I picked it up thinking we could spice things up again. I just forgot to mention it. You ever have someone lie to your face so confidently, so brazenly, that it makes your stomach turn? That was the moment I knew. She wasn't just cheating. She was the type to lie even when she was caught red-handed. But I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just looked at her, nodded slowly, and walked to the guest room. I slept there that night and the night after. Cold, quiet, and with a pit in my chest that felt like it was eating me from the inside out. The morning after the protection discovery, she tried to play house again. Made coffee, stood in the kitchen in one of my old t-shirts, like that was gonna reset everything. I didn't touch the coffee. I didn't say a word. I just sat at the table scrolling through my phone, trying to feel anything other than the numbness settling in. Eventually, she said, "We need to talk." Yeah, we did. I asked her straight, "Are you sleeping with someone else?" She froze. No denial at first, that was the tell. Just long silence, like she was calculating something. Then finally, "No. God, Brian. You think I'd do that to you?" I said nothing. That's when she went on the offensive. "You've been distant lately. Cold. Like I'm invisible. I try to talk to you, and you just nod. You're always working or tired or too busy." Classic. Flip the script. Make it about me. I almost laughed. Almost. "You find a protection in your wife's car," I said slowly, "and suddenly you're the problem." She started crying loud, ugly sobbing. But here's the thing about crocodile tears. Once you've seen real pain, real grief, you can smell the fakes from a mile away. And this? This was a performance. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just stood up, grabbed my keys, and drove to my brother's place. Told him everything. He's a divorce lawyer. You could say he was more prepared for this than I was. We spent the whole day digging, pulling records, phone logs, social media accounts, credit card statements. Turns out my loving wife had been spending more time in hotels than I'd realized, late check-ins on nights she was working late. Dinners for two charged to her card at steakhouses across town. Uber receipts with drop-offs nowhere near her office. The name that kept popping up? Logan. Real estate guy. Divorced, mid-40s, flashy car, Instagram full of beach vacations and gym selfies. A few too many shirtless mirror pics for someone who claims to hate drama. Typical. She'd saved his name in her phone as Lola, and even had a separate messaging app just for their conversations. I guess she thought I wouldn't check there. What I saw made my blood boil. Messages about their secret getaway to Palm Springs next month. A photo of her in lingerie, the lingerie I found in the laundry. A meme she sent him that said, "My heart belongs to someone taken." Real poetic. I screenshotted everything. When I came home that night, I said only one thing. Logan says hi. Her face turned white, then red, then some bizarre shade in between. I can explain. Of course she could. I listened. I let her talk. The usual lines came out. It didn't mean anything. It just happened. He was there when you weren't. I didn't want to hurt you. Right. I showed her the screenshots, the messages, the receipts. Silence. Then I said something I'd been saving since I saw that damn protection. You didn't just cheat on me. You played me. Lied to me every day. Laughed in my face while you made plans with someone else. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. That night, she begged me not to leave. Said we could work through it. Please don't give up on us. Us? There was no us anymore. Just her lies and my patience bleeding out by the minute. I gave her 72 hours to pack and get out. Told her my brother would be serving the papers by the end of the week. She cried again. I didn't. Because you see, heartbreak doesn't always show up as sadness. Sometimes it shows up as clarity. And in that moment, I saw her for who she really was, not the woman I married, but the woman I finally understood. So here's where the story stops being sad and starts getting surgical. After I dropped the bomb, told her I knew about Logan, gave her 72 hours to pack her things, Sarah acted like a kicked puppy. But don't let the tears fool you. I watched her pace the house like a caged animal, trying to figure out her next move. She still thought this was a fight, something she could negotiate her way out of. It wasn't. I stayed calm. Cold, even. Because when you're done, truly done, the emotions go somewhere else. What's left is focus. Let's talk about revenge. I wasn't going to scream, or smash her phone, or key Logan's douche mobile. That's what they expect. No. I was going to dismantle her life the same way she tried to dismantle mine. Quietly, methodically, and with absolute precision. First, I went full investigator. Thanks to my brother, the divorce lawyer I mentioned, we built a pretty airtight case. Adultery, emotional cruelty, deception. We pulled security cam footage from the hotel where she and Logan liked to decompress. Got timestamps. Cross-referenced receipts. Messages. She was dumb enough to sync her texts with the family iPad. Like shooting fish in a barrel. I also dug into her professional life. Sarah worked in digital marketing for a mid-sized firm. Logan was technically a client. Not only was she cheating, but she was also violating company policy. So, I made a flash drive. I labeled it Q1 Reports and slipped it into a padded envelope with a short, polite note. To whom it may concern. I thought you should be aware of the relationship between your marketing manager and your client, Logan Matthews. Several inappropriate exchanges have taken place during business hours and at company-funded events. I've included screenshots and documentation to verify. A concerned husband. Mailed it anonymously to her boss. Overnight. No return address. Then I booked a Saturday morning brunch with Logan's ex-wife. Yeah, that part took a little finesse. Took some deep web sleuthing to track her down. But once I explained who I was and what I had, she was all ears. Turns out Logan's custody agreement was still active, and his little flings could jeopardize weekend visits with his daughter. I handed her a manila folder of gold. Printed texts, photos, emails, even a pic of them kissing in the hotel parking lot. I'll never forget the smile she gave me when I slid it across the table. That arrogant prick thinks he's untouchable, she said, flipping through the pages. This'll be fun. Meanwhile, back at home, Sarah was still trying to stage a reconciliation. She tried the guilt angle, the pity angle, but it was like watching someone throw darts in the dark. And then, the final move. I waited until she left for yoga one afternoon. Spoiler. She was meeting Logan, and I packed up every trace of her from our home. Clothes, makeup, framed photos, her bookshelf full of self-help manifestos. Everything. I boxed it, labeled it Sarah's New Life, and left it on her sister's porch. Then I had the locks changed. Not out of spite. Out of protection. She came home that evening, tried her key, and found herself locked out. Cue the rage texts. The crying voicemails. The "how could you do this to me" speech. I responded once. Check your inbox. You'll find the divorce papers there. I suggest you sign them before Monday. P.S. Logan's ex says hi. I never heard her scream, but I like to imagine it was loud enough to wake the neighbors. What happened after? Logan lost a couple clients once word of his relationship got around. His ex filed for a custody review. Sarah got put on administrative leave, pending review. And last I heard, her nameplate's no longer on the office door. And me? I slept for the first time in months. No guilt. No regrets. Just silence. But I wasn't done yet. So after the locks were changed and Sarah got served, I figured that was the final nail. I thought she'd disappear, nurse her wounds, maybe move in with Logan and play house until their little fantasy imploded. But nah. Some people don't go down quiet. 2 days later, she showed up at my office. I was reviewing quarterly numbers with my team when the receptionist buzzed in. Your wife's here. Says it's urgent. Ex-wife. I almost said, but I nodded and told her to send Sarah in. She walked in like she owned the place, makeup flawless, blouse carefully unbuttoned just enough. Her eyes were glassy though, like she'd been crying for days and only just powdered over it. She didn't sit down. Just stood there, trying to read my face. Brian, I made a mistake, she started. No, I said flatly, you made choices. Over and over. Big difference. That threw her off. She blinked, flinched slightly, then composed herself. I know you're angry, but I was confused. Lost. Logan meant nothing. It was just attention. Stupid, shallow attention. You drugged our marriage for a dopamine hit, I said, standing. You don't come back from that. Her lips parted like she was going to keep begging, but I handed her a white envelope. Inside was a printed screenshot of the email her boss sent confirming her termination for violating company ethics. I watched the color drain from her face. You torched your own career, I said. All I did was hand them a match you were already holding. She stumbled back a step, stammering. You ruined my life. No, I said, voice calm as ever. You did that. I just made sure it didn't happen in the dark. She stormed out of my office, but that was just the beginning of her unraveling. The fallout. Word spread. Fast. Some nosy coworker of hers must have leaked the story because within a week, it hit our local gossip blogs. Marketing exec caught in scandal with married client. The comments were brutal. Screenshots of their texts started circulating. One of Logan's past flings even chimed in, saying he had a pattern of charming married women with low self-esteem. Oof. And then came the best part. Remember that brunch I had with Logan's ex-wife? Well, she didn't stop at the custody hearing. She filed for a full psychological review of Logan's parental fitness. Claimed his judgment was impaired. And who did she subpoena as a witness? Me. I showed up to court, tie on, folders neatly arranged, and calmly recounted the timeline. When the affair started, what I found, how often they met, what I handed over. The judge listened closely. Logan squirmed in his seat. Sarah? She wasn't even allowed in the courtroom. End result? Logan lost weekend custody. Only supervised visits for 6 months. Sarah texted me one night after the ruling. Was it worth it? I didn't answer. But yes, it was. Not because I'm petty. Not because I wanted her to suffer. But because for the first time, I saw exactly what kind of woman she was when no one was watching. And I made sure everyone was watching now. After the court hearing, I thought I was done. I'd gotten my piece. She'd lost her job, her reputation, and the guy she gambled it all for turned out to be just another smooth-talking coward. Logan distanced himself the moment things got hard, claimed Sarah was going through a rough time, and he didn't want to be involved in drama. Typical. But there was still one loose end. One piece of rope I hadn't pulled yet. A month or so after the fallout, I was grabbing coffee downtown when a woman tapped my shoulder. Early 40s, sharp suit, as that had seen more than they let on. You're Brian, right? Sarah's ex. I nodded, cautious. Who's asking? She introduced herself as Danielle, former colleague at Sarah's firm. Said she just wanted to say thank you. Apparently, Sarah had a habit of undermining other women in the office, especially the ones she thought were competition. She played the victim well, always manipulating the right people to climb higher, charm clients, cover her tracks. Watching her implode, Danielle said, was like watching karma work overtime. And I think people should know what really happened, not just the gossip. The truth. It got me thinking. I wasn't looking for sympathy. I didn't want a crowd of people patting me on the back. But I wanted something more permanent than whispers. Something Sarah couldn't spin into her own sob story. So I wrote a letter. A clear, brutally honest, but professional letter. No swearing. No theatrics. Just facts. Dates. Screenshots. A timeline. The protection in her car. The affair with a client. The professional misconduct. The emotional abuse of turning me into the villain while she was planning hotel getaways with Logan behind my back. I attached it all in a PDF, titled, A Cautionary Tale of Trust and Treachery, My Divorce from Sarah Parker. I didn't send it to gossip blogs. I didn't post it to social media. I published it on Medium, anonymously, under the tag relationships/infidelity/recovery. And I made sure a few of her old coworkers, Danielle included, had the link. By the end of the first week, it had over 30,000 views. Then 100,000. The comments poured in. Strangers thanking me for the clarity. People sharing their own betrayals. Women and men alike saying they felt seen, heard, understood. Some even said it gave them the courage to finally leave someone who'd been lying to their face for years. That's when I realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was release. Sarah tried to reach out a few times after that. A voicemail here. An email there. No apologies. Just attempts to control the narrative. I ignored her. Because the thing about betrayal is, it doesn't need closure. The truth is the closure. I've since sold the house. Moved across the state. Different city, different job, fresh start. I rented a small place at first, then bought a cozy 2-bedroom with a little patio where I drink my morning coffee in silence. Sometimes the dogs come stay with me. They're happier here. Peace is louder than people realize. I'm not bitter. I'm better. Would I trust again? Yeah, but slower. With eyes open this time. With boundaries made of stone, not sand. If you're reading this because your gut is whispering that something's off in your own relationship, listen to it. The heart lies. The gut never does. And to Sarah, if somehow you're still reading. You taught me how deep betrayal can cut. But I taught you this. You don't bury someone who learned how to crawl through fire. We're done. But my life? It's just beginning. Brian.